write it down when they want.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Go Big with Leanne show. It's brand new. This is episode 2. So my goal here or intention is to create an empowerment through connection. So it's fun times, and we're gonna have a great show tonight with Jan and Timothy, and they are teachers and students of the Course in Miracles. And if you haven't heard of that, that's okay, because we're going to give you we're going to just scratch the surface of this and then dive a little bit deeper. But I had the privilege of meeting them just really recently, within the last month and a half, because they jumped on a class that I'm in, and they're doing a special treat for us almost every day on helping us learn the Course in Miracles. So I was like, I want to bring these folks on my show and get them to introduce the Course in Miracles and themselves to others, so people can have the opportunity to decide if it's something they want to do. And before we get started, I'll say the one thing. So I've only been a student for 4.5 months. I originally bought the book like 25 years ago or so, opened it up and read a couple lines and said, oh no, I can't do this. So, things always circle back around. But the one thing that I've truly noticed in the last 4.5 months is that my life is much more peaceful and calm. And I just have this, peace that I never thought was possible. So to me, I think that's what most people are kind of looking for in life. And so I feel truly blessed that I came across this course and then came across these wonderful folks. And so would you guys introduce yourselves real quick and just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of go into the discussion.
Great. Go ahead, honey.
Okay. Well, I don't know what people might want to know about me. I've had 73 years of history, so there's a lot to cover. I've been doing A Course in Miracles for about 35 years, something like that. And it grabbed me right away. And even though it really sounded like Greek to me, it's like I would read a paragraph and I'd say, what the heck is that? And then I'd go on and I'd read another one, So
right.
Anyway, I have been married to Timothy for about 17 years.
Yep.
And we like each other.
Yeah, that's good.
And we see that our relationship, the purpose of it is spiritual growth. So it's not because it's so comfortable and we're so happy together all the time. No,
right.
It's about letting go of our blocks to the awareness of love's presence.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I don't know if I told you about me.
No, that's great. That's perfect, Tim.
Okay.
Yeah. Jan and I met almost 17 years ago, but we came to Sedona at the same time to do a 1-year program in the Course in Miracles, and we became friends, and then we got married, and we've been studying the Course together for that long.
For 20 years.
Yeah. I came to the Course. I had an Eastern practice for a long time, 25 years or so, and it was a beautiful practice, but I felt there was a lack inside me. So I found the Course, and then when I found the Course, I thought, well, is this just off the wall, or is it some strange thing? So I got a degree in Western metaphysics and philosophy and theater and things like that, and I've just found the Course to be so much at the center of our sort of dominant procedures, the canon that we live by, and so that's what attracts me to it. It's just at the very important part of our Western life. So.
Awesome. Very good. So for the audience that has no idea what we're even talking about right now, would you guys just give us, what is the Course in Miracles? What is it?
Well,
we're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Whoops. So this is a book. This book has got 3 volumes all bound together in it. A text, a workbook, and a manual for teachers. So it sounds like a class, right? A course.
Right.
Called A Course in Miracles. And what I love about it is that it's based on learning. You can learn how to remove the blocks to your awareness of your magnificence. You can learn how to do those things. It's not like maybe the grace will hit you maybe you have to struggle with purification or whatever. It's like learning. And the more you learn, the more it's reinforced because it works. Mm-hmm. So that's what it is to me. You want to describe what it is to you?
I think learning is a good way to talk about what's the essence of it, because generally when people come to the course, they're ready for a change in their lives. And the origin story of the course was two people who were highly professional, working at Columbia University.
Psychologists,
and they were doing peer research on brain neurology. And as you know, in any organization, there's empires people are trying to build, and the human relations are often very bad. And they both asked, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way for our relationships with these people. And then shortly after that, Helen started what's called scribing the course. And scribing is a little different than channeling something, but it means it's inspired. But to scribe is an Old Testament term that means to count. So the language itself is very precise, even though it's talking about somewhat esoteric things. So generally speaking, when people are beginning to experience hopelessness and helplessness in their relationships and not knowing how they can proceed or what to do, then something like the Course in Miracles, it gives them something as a reference point that's very valuable, but it's not coming from one or the other person.
Not coming from the ego.
Right. So
yeah, that's the problem, is the ego.
Right. So Jan and I both put our spiritual life before this relationship.
Yep, but our relationship here is like fully informed,
right,
by our spiritual life.
That's right. Yeah. And it helps us actualize that.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, when people come to the course, they're looking for peace of mind, and they're looking for a way to actualize their true values inside, because they recognize they're not living out those true values at that time. And the course is able to help you realize, what are my true values? What am I living for? What am I willing to dedicate myself to?
Right.
And then when you get clear about that, then you can bring that into your everyday life, every moment, and say, these are the things that I live for. Uh-huh. These are the values that are important to me, and their peace, love of others as yourself, all those kinds of spiritual things. So
that's awesome. And I know there's probably, a whole lot of people on the seeking path, even more so now than there was probably, even 12 weeks ago, because our world has been kind of turned upside down. So the ones that were on kind of the edge of like, I just feel like something's missing in my life, are now probably like, I know there's something missing in my life. I know there can be something better. And, I've been a seeker for a long time, and it always felt like it was just kind of out of reach, and we all have to start somewhere. So, I started off with crystals and, all kinds of, and all that is fine, but I'm so grateful that I finally landed with a practice and a course that feels like a whole lot of meat and potatoes to me. I'm just a Kansas girl, so I'm going to talk like not in big words or anything, just layman's language. So the meat and potatoes are just, it's so practical and it's so beneficial to your life that some of us are called to do this work, and I can't, it's like, I just can't not do it, because this is part of my calling in life. And not everybody's going to have that strong calling, which is okay. But the course could still be beneficial to their life, just to have a better relationship with their family, their kids, their coworkers, their boss, the environment, or their finances, whatever it is, because a big chunk of it is forgiveness, which is the whole course is about forgiveness, but not necessarily how the average person thinks of forgiveness.
Right.
It actually has a whole different idea about forgiveness. But to focus on what Jan said is that you think of yourselves in terms of a student of something, and I'm learning something. And it's not like I'm a disciple and a follower of something. I'm a student.
Right.
And what's nice about that is you don't have to be expected to know what you came to learn. And as a student, I don't understand. I mean, I think that if I had to mention one of the biggest changes in my life, once I did the course, and I had a really great spiritual life, but one of the biggest benefits for me was as I started studying the course, when I became confused or I didn't understand, before I'd sort of look to my character flaws and what emotional problems do I have, and if I came from my family, and all these issues, and I was trying to come from that to try and figure it out. But what the course did was just say to me, look, you just don't understand and you need help.
And here it is.
And if you just admit that you don't understand and admit that you need help and ask for it,
right,
then you get it. And then it's not that I'm the confusion. I may not get answers at that point, but I have peace of mind, knowing that what I have right now is enough, kind of thing. And I think that's the biggest change, because it's teaching us to be students, of this, learners,
to be open-minded,
so
that we can let this stuff drop in.
Right.
I thought it might be worthwhile to mention that A Course in Miracles is written in language that sounds very Christian. Did that strike you as like odd, Leanne, the way it was reinterpreted?
A little bit, just because it was hard for me to kind of read. So, once I can get past that, and I was raised Catholic, so
me too.
I have that background. So, it was just trying to understand the language and the format. It was probably a little more challenging than anything else. So,
well, the course is really clear that its students, which it says they come from very different backgrounds, they have very different personalities,
different religions or no religion,
different religions, different backgrounds, but they come together to study this material, right? And they've seen its benefit, right?
So it does have the Christian format, you might say,
right?
But everything is reinterpreted in a way that we can understand in the 21st century. So, for example, forgiveness sounds a lot like the way the Buddhists and Hindus talk about recognizing illusion and recognizing that there's reality behind that. So instead of forgiveness being the way we were probably all taught, which is suck it up, right?
Right.
Suffer, grit your teeth, and don't say anything.
Right.
Well, it's not that. It's recognizing through a course of training, through the workbooks training, little step by little step by little step, that what we're looking at here is made up by our minds. And what's really going on is the love of God in every person. Everybody is beloved of God, made out of God's love. And according to the course, we're all going back.
Right.
There's no hell.
So but it begins like we were
our suffering here, anger,
right.
Anxiety, that's hell.
Right.
Yeah.
And traditionally, that was, you're supposed to purify yourself through suffering, and you talk about that. But the course is really clear that you're going to learn, and learning theory has this. You're going to learn through joy and peace more than you're going to learn through adversity.
Yeah.
It's like Abraham.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you can, why not learn through joy and peace?
Right. So one of the first things that it does, the course does, is it said, here's the world in reality, and here's your reaction to it. And it begins to separate out my reaction to the circumstances, to the world.
In your emotional reaction, how you see it, how you feel about it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
However I'm reacting to it, right?
As well as behavior.
So I separate that out from what is reality as the world.
Yeah.
And I understand that I have complete control over my reaction to it.
Right.
And so the mind is trained to see that explicitly. So that isn't some construct you take on faith. You begin to see, here's the world, here's my reaction to it. I have control over my reaction to it. If I change my reaction to it, my world will change for me.
Yeah, then that's how it'll look.
Right.
Like a loving person lives in a loving world.
Right.
An angry person lives in an angry world.
Exactly.
It's really simple.
It is pretty simple. And I love that the course has the workbook where each day, You have, basically an assignment. If you're like me, I give me an assignment. I'm pretty good at faithful at doing those things. And I think a lot of us, we live in a world that kind of operates on structure. So give me a little bit of structure. And so every day, and, for the person that does maybe says, I don't have the time for this, or, I think we all can make the time if we choose to. If something's important to you, we will. But, there's no necessarily right or wrong way to do it. You may just, it may take you longer to get through, all the lessons and the chapters, which is fine. There's still going to be value that you're going to gain from it.
Absolutely.
And, we all know the crazy thing is that as the book progresses, I think within the last couple of days, we realize that we're actually more afraid of love than we are of the struggle and the fear. And when
we go right for fear.
when I think about that, I'm like, how we're so crazy. We're so insane.
Yeah, it's like they say about journalists don't have writer's block, they have deadlines.
Yeah. Okay.
So, no, I mean that in some serious way, because the course says we're embarking on a well-organized, very consistent approach for you to take everything that you're suffering from and offering that to the Holy Spirit and removing that from your life. And it really means that it's well-organized, it's consistent, it encourages you to challenge what it's saying. And I mean, a basic thing in the course is, if you read it, first it gives you a description of how you see yourself now. Then it talks about how God sees you. And then it gives you a way to change that perception of yourself.
Yeah.
And to do that immediately. I mean, like the course say, the two major constructs it's using is the holy instant, which is the present moment, and then holy relationships. And it's within those two constructs that I can learn the truth of who I am.
Right.
I can learn, what do I really value? Do I really value, like both Jan and I are used to being in business for ourselves and the tension of deadlines and having projects, and we go and then we get them
goals,
and we get them accomplished, and then we feel good. And then there's another goal. And it's like being driven by the pressure.
The hamster wheel.
Right.
But it's always cheese, it's like, oh boy,
always is.
On my wheel. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was even
it was really fun for a while.
Yeah. For a while. For like a second, it was fun.
Well, yeah, there was always that money thing pushing you in the back.
Right. But given all of that, traditionally, one of the big changes, traditionally, high spirituality was accomplished by really evolved people who had very special meditation practice, or they'd spend their day in prayer, and they practiced chastity, all kinds of things. And the course is meant to meet everyday people in their everyday situations. So if you're a mother with 3 kids, and
even one,
whatever,
you can't do the workbook as it says.
But I mean, the point is, the traditional practices of meditation, prayer, these high-level practices are not necessary. That's what the course is saying, is that real grit of spirituality didn't trickle down to people. And now we need a way for everyday people to be able to achieve the highest spirituality.
Right.
And do it in the context of your everyday life.
Yeah. And I think that's why, for me personally, it's resonated so much, is that it is definitely for your everyday life, in your practical life. It's not so far out here that you got to go sit in a cave for 15 years and give up all your worldly possessions to have that spiritual transformation. And so many of us that have been on a spiritual journey for, whether it's 5 minutes or 50 years, we've had all kinds of stuff told to us that we have to behave in a certain way and do this in a certain way, and you have to look like this and dress like this and eat like this and be like this, and to me it's been just a huge weight lifted off my shoulder that no, I get to be Leanne on my spiritual journey, and Jan gets to be Jan, and Timothy gets to incorporate these practices into our lives based on what our purpose is, because we all show up for different reasons. And so to me, it's the most practical thing that I've ever gotten into. And I'm really Yeah, and I'm grateful for that. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring you guys on, because I wanted people to just have a sense of, what could it do for their life? I mean,
Right.
can you guys throw in a few, like, just for the everyday person that's trying to hold a job down, maybe has kids, maybe caring for their parents because their parents are aging, what kind of benefits, if they took the time to start studying the course and practicing, what are some things that they could notice pretty quickly if they're a fairly dedicated student?
Well, I'm thinking about the first of the workbook lessons, which are showing us now. It's just like you read. Here's how the workbook goes. You read a lesson, and I'm really generalizing because from day 1 to day 365, there's a lot of variation. But basically, you read a lesson in the morning. It might be a page or two, or maybe just a little paragraph. And then you do a practice. And so the practice might be something like, I look for the goodness in that person 3 times an hour, right? Just try to do that.
Yeah.
And it changes your thinking. Now, how long would that take? Maybe 10 seconds.
Right.
What's a good thing? Well, I love her smile. Or, she didn't have to do that nice little thing she just did. Or I just feel warm being around her. Instead of, she's a jealous witch. I mean, those, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you just replace your thinking little by little by little. And it's like an dyeing Easter eggs. You dye the Easter egg, you put it in a little bit of color, more. After 365 days, if the egg is cooked and it doesn't smell, it will be a really vibrant color. So that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, and I remember one time you saying that, all the workbook lessons are become like tools in your toolbox. So when you feel yourself getting out of peace, when you're not in peace and you're frustrated and you're not happy, then you can grab one of your workbook lessons and use that in the moment. So it's not like you have to go spend any money or do anything different. You just have some of your favorites as you go along, or just use the one of the day. Use the one of the day right there. And it pulls you back into the moment. It pulls you into that place of peace. And I mean, I know for myself, when I'm at a place of peace, everything in my life operates differently. My relationships are better. My job is better, because when we make decisions from a place of peace, they're going to be better decisions and conversations from a place of peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, practically speaking, the course recognizes that so much of our life is rooted in our relationships.
Yes.
I mean, right from the beginning of our life, we have parents, we have siblings, we have spouses, we have friends, and our sense of self is really rooted, if you look closely, is rooted into how is that formed in my relationships. So practically speaking, if, like I had said at the beginning, if you're beginning to have a lot of trouble in your relationships, or just trouble getting along with people, or you just don't understand, or you don't have the peace, then the course is meant to give you a way right away to sort of step back from that, and just step back from that a little bit, to get a little bit of space on it and say, let me see my reaction to what's going on instead of what I think is going on. And let me get in touch with my reaction, because that's what I have control over.
That's where we have to do the work.
That's where we do.
See, it's not like, oh, we've got analytical tools so that I can figure out what's wrong with the other person.
Right.
No, it's not like that. If there's a problem, if I'm perceiving a problem, it's me.
Right.
It's me. Right. I have to work on me.
Oh,
and then whatever was in the relationship that seemed to be a problem, like you leave your underwear on the floor, whatever is that, like, resentment issue, it's like, it's nothing. Or if it's a bigger thing, it gets taken care of, but it's not about behavior, and it's not about changing the other person.
No.
Right. So if we go back to that idea about thinking suffering is natural, and I go through suffering and I'm purifying myself,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to be holy,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to be good after I go through my suffering. What the Course is getting you to see, like miracles traditionally were, a miracle was a cancellation of natural law. And what the Course is saying, a miracle is instituting natural law. And natural law is that love is true and fear isn't. That's what the Course is getting us to see, is that love is natural.
Yeah.
Contentment, peace is natural, not suffering. Suffering is not natural. And that's the big change, because then you begin to see how you're attached to the pain and attached to the suffering. And as soon as you see that, what the Course is saying, your mind is so powerful that it's there because you're valuing it. And when you withdraw the value of it, everything's changed.
Everything shifts.
Right?
Yep.
And each individual student is developing their own tools based upon their own situation.
Yeah.
It's very personal in that way.
Yeah. The Course, there's one workbook lesson where the Course says, you're not asked to take this on unsupported faith. Try it out.
Right.
You know, and I know that's the attitude through the whole thing, but it gives you a sense of your value. You know, it's like you really, and that's the whole Course is about teaching us we are as God created us. We did not damage ourselves. At everybody's root, the more I see it, the more I work with people, everybody on a deep level has some version of I'm not good enough.
Right.
And the Course is telling us you're made out of God's love.
Yeah.
Period. Is that good enough?
So you're
Who's
good enough. Right. Which goes back to, that's hard for a lot of people to grasp, because that is a magnitude of magnificent that they've never even thought about, or they have, but they thought it was so far out there that it wasn't for them.
Right. Yeah.
That it was in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know, it's interesting that, especially marketing people might appreciate this, but, a lot of, like, if you do commercials and you're trying to sell a product, you have endorsements by some famous person, and they give testimony and evidence towards the product, and it's because they said it that it's supposed to be a good thing. Well, the Course is saying it's not about who said this. It's about the ideas themselves. And the ideas themselves they claim to stand on their own merit. So it's not about, it used to be, well, if the Pope said it, or, if somebody said it, or this holy person said it, then we should do it. And the Course is saying, no. The ideas themselves are strong enough that you'll learn from them.
That's a really good point.
It's not about who said it. It's about the integrity of the ideas. And it really is clear that test this out. If this is not working in your experience, then maybe that's not for you.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's okay.
And how it would not work, or let's say why it's slow, why we need a huge book like this, is we really are, as human beings, attached to sacrifice and suffering. We really think it's going to buy us something.
Right.
It's like we judge the value of a gift by how much the giver suffered for it. How much did they pay for it? It's like it goes through our whole life. And there's one place where it says, you've been badly taught. You've been taught by the marketplace. Right. This kind of, I wanted to say this about holy relationship, because you mentioned ours is a holy relationship, and it's a real misunderstanding to think that it's like about marriage or romantic partnership. It's not.
Well, it can be that.
It can be that.
But it's any relationship.
Any relationship where our purpose is mutual spiritual growth. So we have a holy relationship with Leanne, even though we've only met her, a few times. Right. The purpose is not to get something. It's not like, well, I'll give you something and then you give me something. It's both of us recognize if we lift each other up, we're lifted up. That's it.
Right.
Simple.
So
that's holy relationship.
So let me address that, because that's key. So if our human relationships are based on barter and compromise, and on one level we've got to do that because each of us have different ideas, all of that. But if real love is based upon barter and compromise, the mind understands that love should be unconditional. And if it just sticks in barter and compromise, there's always going to be a sense.
Conditions.
It's going to be a sense of not really being loved, because love is unconditional.
Right.
It isn't about circumstance or your particular. Love is unconditional. No matter what, you are loved.
Right.
So if we're just stuck on barter and compromise, then one of us is going to feel we didn't get it back right. Right. Because it's meant to be unconditional.
And that mentality comes from a belief in lack.
That's right.
I'm not enough, but you've got what I need.
Right.
And, it's like if both partners see that, and this can be any kind of neighbors,
Right.
any relationships.
Right.
If it's based on what I can get from you, then let's just take the example of going through the grocery line, getting your groceries checked. We can treat that person like as if she's a robot. Like you're supposed to do this, and if you don't smile at me, if you don't treat me right, then so much for you.
Right.
It's like I'm here giving this store my money and you a job, and you are supposed to treat me in a certain way because I'm a valued customer.
Right.
That is a transactional relationship. That is what we call a special relationship. It's like, it's not even a relationship.
Right.
It's like closing off your mind and your heart to who that person is. But if you go through and, you got your groceries and you just want her to feel better. You just want to give her a little smile. Maybe she looks cranky and you think she's had a hard day. Let me see if I can get her to smile.
Yeah.
Then she will feel better, most likely,
Right.
but you'll feel better, right? Rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
So that is treating your relationships as holy.
And
that's what the course is training us to do.
if we could all do just a little bit of that, can you guys imagine
the
world would feel like, look like? I mean, that would be amazing. And I love that you use the grocery store person as an example, because a lot of times we get caught up in the idea that we can only have a holy relationship with people that are on the same path as us.
Right. Yeah.
No, we're not going to stop and ask everybody, well, are you studying the Course in Miracles? Because if so, then we can have a holy relationship. If you're not, then no, you're out here. So you create the holy relationship regardless of how the other person responds necessarily, especially when it's strangers out and about. You control your actions, and hopefully even if they don't accept it at that moment, maybe they go home and go, oh, that lady in that green shirt today, she really did help me get through my day.
Yeah.
So it's slowing down.
Yeah. Our friend Connie, she's a course student, but she was a command sergeant major in Arizona National Guard. And she talked about different forms of leadership. And the lowest level is this transactional level. And the transactional is where the barter and the compromise comes on. But the highest level is this transformative sort of leadership where everybody's transformed in the interactions, in your interpersonal thing. But if you go back to the idea of relationships solely being barter and compromise, well, if you're in the marketplace and you're bartering and compromise, you want to buy low and sell high. So the guilt that happens in our relationships is we're trying to get a lot of love by only giving a little bit.
Only giving a little love.
Only give a little
That's
bit,
not
and
gonna
then
work.
I want to get a lot back. So the Holy Spirit says, great, you want to give a little, get a lot, give me 1 instant, and I'll give you all of love.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And that's what changes the guilt. But the guilt is this barter and compromise. I'm just going to do a little, but I want a lot.
Yeah. And it always feels like a loss.
It does, and it feels terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah. Well, you guys have given us, so much great just reason to even dip your toe into the Course in Miracles. So if you had, would you guys think that it's more beneficial for people to study the course with one other person, with a group, or to have some, kind of support system around them? Or, I mean, do you think does that add value to keep people engaged in it?
Yes, I asked this question of our housemates. We enjoy living with other course students. In fact, we invite them to come and live with us for short periods of time. And so we had a couple people here, and I asked them that question: what did they think?
Right.
And so what it showed was, when they were thinking about it, they showed how there were so many different ways that they had studied the course. So you can read it by yourself. That's what I did the first many years. You can be in a group. There are groups. There are groups in person later, and there are groups online. We're about to start another one online. And then there are just like buddies. And if you're in a group, I would say, if there is no real experienced person, sometimes 3 or 4 people get together to read it like a book club would. Read it carefully.
Right.
Because if you just keep on bringing in old teaching, it's harder to put, the bucket has to be empty before you can fill it. Right. But if you can be in a group, or best one-on-one with a good teacher, then it becomes very personal.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how does this apply to my life right now?
Yeah. So let me make just a real quick in general, group processes are such that when you come into the group, it breaks the isolation. It's no longer just me who has the problem.
Yeah.
So you've already expanded yourself, a sense of self, or sense of, because you're identifying then with others in a group process.
Yeah.
But then what happens in the group, like 12-step programs or Course in Miracles, as we get to know others more intimately, we can be more intimately available to offer them love in very specific ways. So what we've found is that when we study with people we know very, very well, friends we've known for a long time, and that's not the only ones we study with, but in those groups, we know we used to live together with those people, and we know them very well. So it's not just general stuff that we're giving you, it's listening very specifically to their hearts, and then offering something very specifically
from the course,
because we've become intimate with them.
Yeah.
So,
and that doesn't take a lot of time.
Right.
It's a matter of being available. You can have a brand new student who's available, and then you can really, really do great work. And you can be in a group forever and just have it all in your head and be closed-hearted.
Right.
It's all up to you.
Yeah.
But I do, if you don't know anybody and you want to just start with the course, well, start by yourself, but optimally you'll have a teacher.
Yeah. And I know for myself that having you guys as teachers and Michael Murdat as a teacher has been extremely beneficial, and I'm doing it with my other half and my best friend that lives in Tucson. So it's that we've had some really deep, intense conversations, and that really has enhanced the process. So, if anybody that's watching this, you guys can reach out to Jan and Timothy at their website. They're starting up some new group settings. Timothy has a YouTube channel that has some great readings and some insights on there. And then, you can always reach out to me as well. I am definitely not a master teacher by any means. I'm a student, but I can hook you up to the folks that would be great for you to practice with. And, I think community is very important. I think community enhances everything we do in our life. And so in this new, unique times that we're in, we have to be a little more creative, but it doesn't mean, I'm a health coach during the day. And so I've been, we don't have people coming into the building, so I'm taking more phone calls, but I've been really intentional about incorporating this practice into the phone call.
Yeah.
And it's been really pretty amazing, the response that I'm getting from the other folks.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's practical. It's enhanced my life, and I really feel like I'm paying it forward to others. So we appreciate.
And Leanne, you're not like teaching them A Course in Miracles the way a missionary would. No, you're just being yourself.
I'm being myself, and I'm just treating them with pure love, and meeting them where they're at, and maybe helping them see something in their life a tad bit differently. Because when people have been struggling with their weight for a really, really long time, and they've been told all these things, and God knows half of it's BS, 3/4 of it's BS. And I say, well, are you willing to have a discussion about possibly a different idea? And some of them aren't. They just get on a rampage, and the ones that are, though, then I kind of just guide them through a conversation of maybe it's just a little inside work, because that number on the scale is not going to make you happy. When you hit 155 or whatever, there's no magic in that little number on the scale. The magic is going to come from within you. So it's just kind of fun to take it in, and it feels good, because I'm not doing it for any gain, personal gain. I'm doing it because they were open, and they opened the door. I initiated the conversation, but they agreed to the conversation. And then we just, we're having, I may never, ever speak to these people ever again. But hopefully, I planted maybe just a little seed that then because it's personal responsibility, then they have to decide what their next step is. And I'm not sitting there on the phone going, okay, go buy the Course in Miracles book. I'm planting the seed of the practices that we're learning, the tools that, that I have this wealth of, in my toolbox now, that just is getting more full, and it's it's fun, and it's light, and it's it's sometimes the work, my brain is twisted, and there's been days where I've been really angry, and I know that's because I'm at the point of letting go of something really big. It's kind of like the calm before the storm before the calm.
There's a place where it says that the ego has just a certain range. Yes. And ego is what covers up the truth in us, the love in us. So it has a range of suspiciousness and viciousness. Viciousness. And when it sees that you are going for real love, it gets vicious.
It does.
But that's not who you are.
No, and you have the tools to deal. But one of the lines in the Course that goes through it, love works through you to show you that it's in you.
Right.
It's by extending it to others that you recognize this love is inside you.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful closing thought, Timothy. And I greatly appreciate you guys being willing to get on the Go Big with Leanne show and just share some of your wealth and knowledge about the Course in Miracles.
So much appreciate your invitation and the conversation. Thank you,
enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so hopefully, we've got their website here, so reach out to them or reach out to me if you guys have any other questions. And email. Email. Yep. All right. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.